Okay, this is an unboxing essentially of the Geekom GT1 Mega U9. And to make sure I got the right one here, but yep, there we go. That's the model. 32 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM and 2 terabytes of M.2 storage. This is not a cheap mini PC by any stretch of the imagination, and I happen to open it upside down. And there's not a lot of packaging in the box of this unit, so heaven helps you that your mini PC arrives safely and the box doesn't have like a massive dent because there's no bubble wrap or foam to protect this box. But it's a nice box nonetheless. Looks pretty clean, pretty straightforward. Cut the the plastic wrap around it, drop the bottom, and open it up. So I'm pretty curious to check this out because up until this point, Geekom has been building like these smaller Nook-size mini PCs. Let me see, I got one here. And they are adorable. Check this out. This is the size of the original Intel Nooks kind of thing, but Geekom is like superfied it. Like nice aluminum metal case around it. You still got the SD card reader. This is the Geekom A7 and 7940HS, if I remember correctly. And it's pretty clean looking. You got the two USB-A ports on the front, very compact, and Geekom likes to put their USB-C ports and HDMI ports on the rear. It's pretty straightforward, pretty clean. One big problem though, DDR5 machines do have a bit of a demand for airflow for over the RAM to keep that cool. And this adds a lot more performance to your units if you do not already have like some sort of secondary fan adding airflow. Now, I'm very curious because that's the AMD side. This is an Intel unit. And AMD is very, very, very RAM sensitive. Intel, on the other hand, not so much. And I'm kind of curious to see, okay, this is effectively like a similar kind of machine, but it's bigger. Does that mean that it's better? Yes, sort of. You have more room for a bigger cooler, so potentially that could offer better performance. Now, the base specs of a 185H, Intel 185H, is a little bit behind AMD's counterparts, the 7940HS and the 8945HS. They're Zen 4 16-thread CPUs. And that goes for the same for their RDNA 3 780M iGPUs. Intel, on the other hand, has quite a few more of like the CPU threads, but overall, the CPU single-thread performance and multi-thread performance are just like a hair's breadth behind. Ooh, that's clean. It's not something that somebody would notice, but if you're like benchmark crazy, like I am, and you're running so many tests, you will kind of notice that it is close, but not quite there yet. Intel's definitely trying to catch up to AMD. Ooh. Well, and everybody's doing these kind of plastic wraps around the mini PC to protect it from scratches. But here we go. We got a nice metal case around there. Oh, what's this? Looks like an instruction manual. And they're really going for like a smartphone-esque kind of look there. What else is in there? Before I get to unwrapping this, if there's anything important here, I happen to want to double check that. Oh, nice compact power supply. This is a nice positive thing to see, that mini PCs are just generally going for the smaller, more compact power supplies. There's a VESA mount in there, a full-size bracket. That's nice to see. If you're paying top dollar for one of these units, you do kind of want that. HDMI. And here we go, the VESA mounting screws. Yeah, I really like to see this. This is like one of those times where, hey, check it out. The power supply is smaller than the mini PC, as it always should be. All right, so I will come back to that. Actually, hang on, scratch that. Before I get back to that, what are the specs on this power supply? Looks like it's 120 watts. Oh, okay, that's not too bad. That's about run of the mill. 120 watts for this thing. The smaller unit also uses 120 watts. Oh, you can't really see that. Ta-da. And it is definitely a bigger mini PC. Yeah. I made this taller, though, of course, by adding the fan underneath and heat sinks, but this would have been lower profile. So Intel, bigger machine, that's not a bad thing necessarily. I like to have more cooling, squeeze it into the machine, and we're going to see how that performs when I get around to testing this more, or just testing in general. Let's see, what's the cleanest way of unwrapping this? Can't state how nice it is to have a VESA-mountable computer. Ooh, okay, there we go. Classic plastic bottom. These rubber feet cover the actual screws that you need to access and unscrew and release the bottom plate. So we're back to sticker feet. Oh joy. But that's looking very clean. It's a nice metal case. Lots of holy USB ports. That is very useful for what I do because I'm testing with a lot of Arduinos and random things that I need to connect to. And here we go. Very nice I/O on the rear. We got the dual USB-C ports. They claim they're 40 gigabytes per second. Now here's the one catcher. On the sales listings, they claim they're 8K 30 hertz, not 8K 60 hertz. That's kind of a bit baffling to me because they are 40 gigabytes and bandwidth should allow for 60. I don't know. They should be 8K 60 hertz, but they're not on the sales listing. So somebody has to talk to their people doing Amazon listings because that's not quite correct. These HDMI ports, still HDMI, I believe like 2 or something. They're 4K 60 hertz. They're not 8K 60 hertz. That's a little bit disappointing to see, but maybe in a future generation that'll be there. We do get dual 2.5 gigabyte Ethernet ports. This isn't going to be super useful for everybody, but for me, it's like awesome because I can connect a computer to one or a router to the other and just daisy chain and just splice myself into somebody's network or just not use a network switch at all, which is handy if I'm constantly booting up new computers. USB-A and a classic 5.5, 2.5 millimeter jack for power supplies. So useful, super universal. This USB-C port does support 100 gigabytes USB-C PD in. So, hallelujah. This thing does not support USB-C PD in. I've tested it. Does not work. This thing does. And if you know what I like to do, I like to turn these computers into cyberdecks. And having that as an option is very useful when you want to add a battery. And wow, that is a lot of USB-A ports. That is useful. And even you get a fast charging port in there. Or always on charging port? I don't know. I'm going to test that out. Power button. Front audio jack. You don't get a rear audio jack. So if you have speakers, you have to route that around to the front or use some sort of like USB to that speaker adapter. It's all digital signals these days, so you're not exactly missing out on anything, but really clean looking. Oh, and before I forget, SD card reader. Yeah, if you're a 3D printing person, this is nice. This is nice to have. And yeah, we get like a nice same old grill on the left and right. One thing I am a little disappointed by, there's no bottom airflow. That is maybe possibly a little frustrating, but I want to check out what's inside this machine. Because, as some of you may have seen in the previous iterations of Geekom's machines, there's only a single storage drive in this unit. These aren't cheap. And only having that single storage drive limits your options for what you can upgrade to. Can I peel this off? It's going to be painful. And supposedly, there should be a secondary M.2 storage drive in here. And the sales listing says it's for 2242 SATA 3 drives. It's not a full-size M.2 2280 M.2 SSD, which is disappointing, to say the least, because I would have liked a full-size slot. Oh, yeah, there you go. See, that's where the screws are. But I would rather have some kind of secondary storage drive slot rather than not having it at all, because it's really important when you're upgrading from one computer to the next. And there we go. What I'm doing is just burying my nail into the side of there and just peeling it out gently. I've done this before with like tweezers or sharp blade things, and they really dig into pads, and I'm trying not to damage them. You don't need that much force to peel these things out. There you go. And then, yeah, that's what I'm doing a lot of. I'm going from one computer to the next, trying to keep every machine moving very fast, and this is a nice opportunity to do so. Now, using Intel CPUs versus AMD, it doesn't provide a significant difference these days. In the past, it was like, oh, if you want a good iGPU for gaming, then you have to go with AMD because they have the RDNA graphics. Well, news is Intel has gone with their new Arc graphics, which is a big step up from the Iris Xe 96EU iGPU. And basically bumped up those 96 EUs up to, what's the equivalent of 128? Yeah. And there is a lesser version of this model. I'll have to double check those specs, but no pull tab. I'd love a pull tab that's like to help me like pull this out, but I don't have it. So a little screwdriver just underneath there. Yeah, a little plastic pull tab here would be super useful. You probably want a closer look at that unit. Man, that's real stuck on there. I removed the 4 screws, so there's nothing else holding it down. Unless, I really don't like using excessive force, but I may need to, like, okay, well, I did it. No damage to the bottom panel at least, but hey, there we go. Plastic thing comes off. Oh, huh. Well, that's novel. Okay. They don't even label it, though. It'd be nice to know it, but you could kind of, like... There's, like, this funnel over here. What is that? Oh, that's for the Kensington lock. No, you don't actually use that for opening it. There's a plastic flap over here to block off the Kensington lock on the side so that if anything's going in there, it's not going all the way in there. But here we go. We got the 2 antennas. Classic bottom spongy pad there, so that this, when the cap compresses itself, it doesn't press into the metal plate. That'd be bad. And then, let's see. I'll check this out. Bottom plate. You do want to be really delicate with these antennas. It's a bit unfortunate they are on the bottom plate. It is better to have it on the bottom plate, in my opinion, so that way there's not as much like metal. They've done the right thing of putting the antennas on the outside of all the metal for the best reception possible. Of course, the downside of that, you do have to be a little bit more delicate when you're removing this plate so as to not tear anything. All right? Remember, antennas are delicate. Oh, well, there goes that screw. Alrighty. 3 out of 4. It's not the worst ratio, but now I can't turn on the computer until I get that one screw out. Let's see. Can I remove this? Oh, yes, I can. Hooray! Okay. This can bend out, and wow, that is not a lot of play at all. Alright, first things first, get out that screw that's playing. I can hear you. I don't see you. Oh, great. Huh. Oh, I see it. Oh my goodness. I can see you. Come on out. There you go. Okay. Goodness, I was like thinking I'm gonna have to tear apart the entire computer just to get that screw out. Okay, so that's out. Oh sweet. Well, we got a crucial SSD in there, P3 Plus. That looks genuine for Micron. Alright. Sweetness. Alright. That's nice to see. Heat spreader sticker. This is the 224 SSD there I was talking about. So this allows for storage expansion. These things, they go up to like 8 terabytes these days, maybe even more in the future if you're watching this. This thing, I think, is like 2 terabytes, maybe even 4. So this shorter SSD does have a less of a peak storage capacity. So I would have liked, hey, use the full length of the space provided here for a second M.2 NVMe SSD. This says this is only SATA, so you're limited to SATA speeds rather than NVMe speeds. Gen 4 NVMe speed, very, very fast. But yeah, SATA's a bit slower. We are getting crucial RAM here. Nice quality stuff. 5600 mega transfer per second. CL46. So not the tightest timings, but you're not going to notice a significant difference. Fraction of a percent, really. But you get 32 gigabytes of that stuff. This is really nice to see. Brand name RAM and brand name SSD. Now, those of you who are familiar with the P3 Plus probably already know, hey, this thing doesn't have DRAM, and it certainly is not TLC NAND. So it's not the highest quality SSD possible, but it's still pretty good. The average person is not going to notice a difference, and you're looking at speeds somewhere in the plus 5,000 megabyte, plus 5,000 whatever units speed. The peak speed, if you have like a top end SSD, 2 terabytes, yes, that's nice, is, I think it's like 7,000 or something. So a good chunk faster than this drive, and it will last at least a few years longer because of that DRAM and TLC NAND. But this is still going to be a pretty nice, handy drive. I prefer this significantly more than like a no-name brand SSD. And when you're paying like close to $1,000 for some of these mini PCs, you want brand name stuff in there, okay? It doesn't cost that much more. Now, let's check out how we're doing with the wireless card. Well, that's not Intel. I don't know what that is, but it's something. Let me see. I'm going to need a bit of a socket screw to remove this, okay? You can't remove that with a Phillips. Let's see. M4 maybe? Nope, a little bit too small. 4.5. Still too small. And let's go to the M5 socket size. Yeah, that'll do it. So you will need something like this, M5 type. And if you do not already have one, there are like these kits with a bunch of screw bits on there, like 120 or 122, whatever they're selling at the time, for like $15 to $20, whatever. Those are really useful kits if you're fixing laptops, phones. You don't have to buy the top end stuff, okay? Most of these screws and the forces applied necessary for them, just get the budget stuff. Don't spend $100 on one of these kits and blow away money just for no reason, unless you're like a professional and absolutely you're doing this a million times in a year and you really absolutely cannot allow your tools to wear out. This is fine because I do this as funzos. Alrighty, there we go. Oh, hey, check that out. Look at that. One of the antennas things already have clipped off. And so much for the little plastic clip there. But that's fine. It's easy enough to plug that back in. The reason why I disconnect that is because I want to show you what the wireless card is. You will need this if you need to find the specific wireless drivers. If that's not automatically installed, Oh, it's an Intel BE200. This is Wi-Fi 7. Ooh. So we're looking at Bluetooth 5.4, Wi-Fi 7. This is fast. It's goofy as heck when you plug it into an AMD mini PC, but for Intel and their Series 1 and newer CPU, this is good. This is really good. Okay, so yeah, Geekom is like just going all out and just like, all right, whatever, we'll put all the top-end brand name things that are going into mini PCs into this thing. That's very nice to see. For the cost that you're spending on this thing, that is very important to see. This is the CMOS battery. You will need to disconnect this if you're messing around with the CMOS. The BIOS specifically, and you find like, oh, I've messed around with the settings. Now I need to reset everything. Disconnect power, everything that's connected. Disconnect the CMOS battery, wait 30 seconds, connect it again. You're good to go. Everything resets back to the factory defaults. And let's see. It looks like, oh, huh. These are two USB kind of pins. It looks like USB 2.0 pins that could like offer internal USB connections. That's useful. I don't know the exact pin out. Like it would be like 5 volts, data plus, data negative, ground. You'd have to check with a multimeter before you start connecting pins to it. But having those extra USB connections on the inside is weirdly convenient. If you need to connect a touchscreen or speakers or something internally, and when you're modeling this computer out, you have those internal connections. That's fun. That is very fun. Otherwise, I can't find too much to complain. It's pretty nice in there. I would have liked the full-sized SSD. Looks like there's some pads over here that are unpopulated, most likely for debugging. Oh, there's a COM port. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of debugging pins. Holy cow. But, yeah. You know, I've gotten this far already. I may as well go a little further and see what's inside, eh? Let's see. I think I've already gotten the... Let's see if this is all M5. Yeah, it's all M5. Okay. No Loctite. It's not the end of the world. Ooh, this is a little sticky. That's nice. Okay. Well, oh. Ah. My screwdriver is out of power. Imagine that. Well, unfortunately for myself, I have to go at this because I did not recharge my screwdriver. Sadness. All right. Old-fashioned way. So, if you're like somebody that likes to buy a computer, fresh out of the box, plug and play, this will probably work for you. Geekom has a 30-day return period, 3-year warranty. I like seeing and buying or going for those companies that are supporting 3-year warranties. They got some kinks to work out, don't get me wrong. But as far as claiming a warranty, you're in a far better situation if you're getting 2 or 3 years down the line and you're still covered by a warranty to have that as a just in case. I believe very adamantly these computers should last. Looks like somebody put at least a little Loctite on there. That's cool. So yeah, the construction of these things are outstandingly pretty good. You got the power button over here. Oh, and I forgot to point this out. You get thermal pads. Hey, for the SSDs. With this amount of metal on there, that's pretty good. So I don't expect these SSDs to thermal throttle immediately. There isn't airflow. And it is just effectively a heat shielded oven around the RAM. That's, we'll see how it goes because Intel is less like RAM sensitive. So ideally, there isn't going to be much thermal throttling happening, even though there's not really any airflow going on here. Hopefully that all works out really good, and I need to test that out. If Geekom ever decides to update their mini PCs, I'd love to see a secondary fan. Even if they don't want to go for that, just rework the machine so that way air is pulled in, not from the sides, but from the bottom and flows around the machine and then reaches the main fan underneath. So you see what I'm doing here? I'm lifting it up from the rear I/O. How these companies typically install their computers, they insert the front I/O first and then the back. So you want to do the reverse to kind of get that mini PC main board out. This is useful for people that are like, I want to mod the computer with a new case or something, or just service the machine or check out what's on the other side. That's all good, viable reasons, and I believe we should be supporting easy disassembly of a computer. To reach that goal. Come on, little guy. Ooh, yeah. It's a little crinkly. Come on. Well, you see what's happening here. I'm moving the main board. I'm not moving the heatsink on the other side. That's not great. Maybe I'm being a dum-dum. This is not how I should be disassembling it. There isn't any retaining screw that I'm missing. But I do want this out. So what I'm trying to be mindful of, you see that I'm moving this main board here, and you see the heatsink is getting caught on the rest of the case. That's not coming out. So what can I do to pop that free? It's not like this back part of the plastic part of the case comes out. That's in there. That's clipped in. Then the only other option that I have is to start okay, well, let's put that back down and see if I can lift from the other side. We'll start with, ooh. Is that really what I have to do? I have to lift from the front? Okay, I'm grabbing from the standoff and lifting up. Oh, okay. Well, I was wrong. You don't go from the rear, you go from the front. Oh, boy. That's tight. Metal cases are not easy. Come on. There's enough sticky goo in there. All right. Oh, what's that? Looks like some sort of plastic retaining rings. Oh, to prevent shorting. Huh. All right. These rings, I assume, were on the standoffs down here. If those, you can't see those two circular rings there. This is the fan that I want to see. This is very big and chunky. This is cool. Actually, pretty good heat pipes. Huh. Yeah, this has promise. This could offer pretty good cooling. You see how there's so many fan blades in there? I'm not too worried about fan noise on this model. It might very well be much better than the A7, which is exciting to see. Yeah. Here's the power button. And there would be two LEDs on the left and right that would glow up. Now, let's see. I'll set that down. These plastic standoff rings need to sit, I think, like that. This is so silly, just delicate. Okay, upsy daisy. There we go. One ring, two rings. There we go. And that would be, what is that, insulation? I don't know. It does something. So, trick for removing this main board, you go in through the back and then you slide in the front. Yeah, this is the backwards way that I'm used to removing the main boards, because usually there's enough space between the heatsink and the rest of the case, but this is completely squared off. So yeah, back in first and then the front down. That's interesting. Not too much to say for the inside of this case. It's very cleanly machined. And then the main board is looking like that. I'm kind of curious to see what's underneath the RAM anyways. Okay, this is a nice main board. Yeah, kudos to them. Geekom has definitely improved their build quality. I like seeing the mini PC is getting bigger to handle, like, this is a U9 processor, Intel 185H, very powerful CPU performance, very powerful iGPU performance. Yeah, and I'm curious to see how well this performs, because I've been enjoying like the Beelink GTI 14 Ultra, but it is big. There's a lot of screws on it. This is much simpler, and I didn't even expect this, but the internal USB pins here, useful. I like seeing that. I really do. Now, I had to check those still work, but having the SD card reader and other features on this machine makes it very viable for like potential builds. And it's clean looking. Like, it's a really clean looking case. I love the minimalist kind of theme that mini PCs have been going for, because you see like RGB vomit on the laptops, on the PC towers, and then you get these clean looking mini PCs. So simple, saves space, looks nice on a desk, and it sips power. So you got the heat pipes there. That's cool. I may as well, since we're getting this far, I want to take a look at the fan. Some of you are going to actually need that. If you're like 5 years out and like, holy cow, I need to get myself a new fan or do something, you're going to need the serial number. Now, the best way is to always just open up your mini PC, check it out. Oh, you know what's actually kind of cool? There's a little tiny Phillips screw heads all over on this fan. So that makes it really easy. Usually there's sacrificial clips. You break them off and then the fan case never closes properly again. But you could, hypothetically, have a reasonably easy time of opening this fan case if you ever need to lubricate the fan. You don't necessarily need to do that, by the way. I've done it in the past for laptops and mini PCs to reduce noise. But this is good signs. I like that repairability. I don't even know if Geekom intended to do that. Disconnect the fan connector before you mess around with that. And then the fan itself. Let's see, we got a little bit of plastic here that's sealing airflow from the fan. Oh, there we go. And check it out. Now, this is the fan. What do we got? It's a 94 millimeter by 15 millimeter fan. Yeah, 5 volts, 3 watts. Holy cow, that's 3 watts. That's a lot of juice for a fan, by the way. Yeah, holy cow. Yeah, you see 94 by 15. So the thickness of this is 15 millimeters. The diameter of the fan part thing here is 94. Cool. 1 amp. I don't know what the 1H is for, but yeah, 3 watts for a fan is a lot of juice. This is definitely, I imagine Geekom has this spinning much slower than its maximum speed, so as to not use 3 watts for a fan. That is comically a lot of power. But here we go. This is the heat pipes. This is like, so they have it all twisting around here. These are fat heat pipes, by the way. They've really flattened it out. You could see part of the 185H CPU underneath. That's kind of funny to me, but I mean, they've got contact to the main part, and it goes around here, all the way over here. I would have maybe liked to see like a shorter transition space where it goes over here and bends out, but this gets a lot more contact for the heat pipes for the larger metal section, so maybe that all works out. It is cool to see one of the heat pipes or something. Oh, that's a secondary. There's a third heat pipe that's wrapped around here for the VRMs. That's interesting. You can see that underneath over there. Now, I could open this up, and I don't think there's like liquid metal here, but I don't want to chance that. This is a little too messy to go replacing the paste on it. But if you had to do that, you'd remove these 4 screws as well as, it just looks like these 4 screws. Hold up. Okay, so let's see, just to conclude here, you need to remove these 4 screws and hypothetically all of this. With some thermal pads underneath here and a little wiggling, you can remove all of that. Fan connectors over there, a lot of miscellaneous components on the main board. It looks beautiful. It really does. So this is good progress to see. If any of you have been like observing Geekom's progress, they've been making Intel NUC kind of clones and with upgraded CPUs. This is perhaps one of the firsts of their like really genuine, unique builds. Really stepping outside of the Intel NUC 4x4 form factor with a bigger board, bigger fan, bigger cooler. This thing could have a much better chance of cooling a U9 type or an i9 type processor, which really demands as much cooling as you can possibly get. All right, but that's something just to test it out and see how that goes. I'm going to go ahead and put this whole assembly back together. See, so rear in first. That's interesting. I've never done that before. Okay, and then I have the 2 rings for the front standoffs inserted. And then I need to, oh, hang on. Where's my brain? Somebody's probably like watching this and screaming, "You didn't put the fan back in." Yeah, that's right, I didn't put the fan back in. Okay, so this is going to be more lengthy than I'd intended, but hey, you do it right, you do it once. And then I got a whole bunch of testing to do before I actually start unscrewing important things like the cooler. Ooh, talking to myself so much. Oh, goodness. All you see is like me, my hand. There you go. Okay, that's connected. Fan connector back in place. Cover that up. Press down the tape. Connection's good. Put in the rear. Watch the plastic front. Slides in. Oh, that's much easier. You just go from the back to the front, slides in. That's great. Go ahead and connect up the RAM. Let's see. Connect up. Oh, goodness. This is my favorite part of the challenge. Hang on, gotta blow my nose. And back at it. All right, my nose has been evacuated. My focus has been restored. Okay, magnetize. Let's see if that helps. I think these are like, yeah, they're stainless steel, so it doesn't actually make a difference. You just need to smooth that in at an angle. Standoffs in. If you're curious what I'm doing here to kind of get this standoff in, I've slotted it in, I'm tilting my screw down, and then I'm gradually moving it in over there. Better than the tweezers strategy some people might use. Tighten that down. Hand tighten is plenty. Do not use like an impact on these things. Do not unreasonably tighten. Hand tight is plenty. There we go. All right, yeah, just at an angle, in. And tighten. This is again using an M5 socket screw. If you do not have one, you may need to pick one up. All right, and let's see. I do need to connect up this wireless antenna. There we go. And this is going to need to connect to their BE200 wireless cards. We're going into the Wi-Fi 7 age. Hallelujah, you guys. For the longest time, we've been dealing with the Intel AX200 and 210 Wi-Fi 6 and 6E wireless cards. For the longest time, AMD still is a bit limited to them. There are some Wi-Fi 7 card options out there, I'm guessing, for AMD, but I haven't seen them exactly. Oh my goodness. Little acrylic plastic sticker things. If you have Wi-Fi or Bluetooth connection issues, you want to check your wireless cards every time. Oh, look, the other card has disconnected. Ugh. All right, hang on. This whole plastic thing, I'm taking it off temporarily until I get my antennas connected. These things are so fragile, but you just need a little bit of pressure on your nail, pressing down on them. You can use like tweezers or a plastic squeegee thing to also apply pressure. I use my nail because I have the best motor control over that. Come on, spaghetti in there. There you go. Both of those clips are on. Then I can put the acrylic sticker back on. Okay. That is not easy to insert. It's unnecessary. These cables should be like 2 or 3 inches longer. All right. I know it causes some routing issues if they are too long. So you ideally want those antennas to be as short as possible, but at the same time, for the sake of connectivity, it's a pain in your butt to not have proper distance, because now I have to hold this with one hand and then MacGyver my other hand to get that standoff in. This is not going to be easy. And this is what slows down your repair technicians. If you're ever like wondering, like, oh, why is it so expensive or time consuming for our repair techs to repair a single mini PC? It's because 90% of the time they're faffing around with a really, really dumb screw situation. That could have just been otherwise avoided. It had the cables just been sized appropriately. Of course, I might just be stubborn. Come on. Nope, it's really not going in. This is so unbelievably painful. Okay, the sticker, oh man. Okay, that's a pain in my butt. There's got to be a better way of doing this. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do these nylon or tape things for the antennas that are holding them down. I remember exactly where they are, approximately, that they do need to come off if I'm going to reasonably assemble this. Okay, that gives me at least the play that I need to assemble that, but ugh, this is not ideal. I honestly want to get myself some sleep. Not fix whatever Geekom's funny business with their antennas is. Okay, that's one. Ugh. Oh, yeah. Huh. I'm almost tempted to just unscrew this and just screw this back on later. Is there actual tape underneath here? Do I need to have this connected to the metal plate? Well, there's no metal. Oh. They didn't remove this to sticky on there. If they did, that would be a pain in my butt to do. But, alright. Here we go. There's the secondary antenna. So, Geekom could potentially improve their internal layout a little bit with their mini PCs to make this a little bit more accessible. Remember, I suffer because I want people to understand what it's like to have an engineer trying to figure this out. I don't work with this specific computer before, but there we go. So I twisted it in by hand, put in the screwdriver, and that's tightened down. Right. The antennas are loosely goosey. Then I can apply the sticker to retain them. Okay. M.2 SSD goes there. What do we have here? Oh, right. Hang on. These are a lot of the same screws, but they're also slightly different. Because of course they are. This is the M.2 screw, I believe. Because I very well organized, but did not organize it well enough. There we go. Proper thread. Okay. Tighten that down. We're gonna now, for those of you who are uncertain, those are thermal pads underneath that are contacting the SSDs. I was like, wondering, what are these two screws? They're for the antenna that I just literally just removed less than 5 minutes ago. My memory's falling apart. But, okay, that's in. That's there. This goes over here. So I can screw this back in. Good grief. A little bit extra steps for assembly than I wanted. But there we go. Better that I do it for myself here. You know, I love focusing on my hands. It's not the point. Ignore the hands. I know my hands are absolutely beautiful and my nails are gorgeous. There we go. The antennas are on. Great. I have these 4 screws to fit. Just lift it and set it down in place. I think that's close enough to alignment that I'm just going to get the screws fitted. There you go. again with the focusing on the hands part. Okay. All the screws are connected. Now I go back around, tighten everything down, make sure that's secure, because I'm going to need those thermal pads to make about as good of a contact as they can for my testing. They've put a lot of padding to ensure everything's insulated. It's pretty well built from Geekom. Good experience. Their engineers are learning from this. It's not perfect. I'd very much love to see a pull tab for this top plate, because somebody's going to recommend, hey, you should use a blade and just go in there and dish it out. Don't do that. You're going to damage something. You're going to scratch it. You're going to hurt your resale value. There you go. It's clipped in there. All I did was use a screwdriver to just apply a little flex on the inside panels, very gently, very gently. And they're covered by these plastic caps, so they're very unlikely to see anything if you mar them. But nonetheless, do be delicate. There is no plastic pull tab to remove the bottom cover. There we go. Very finely machined case. Beautiful computer. This is going to be a very fun treat to test. And for those of you who are unfamiliar, Intel Series 1 is already a last generation product, because now we're getting Series 2. Yeah. Even better CPU and iGPU performance. Oh, you're kidding me. There's something rattling inside. Hang on. Yeah, there's something rattling. You know what's rattling? It's probably one of those, the rings. You know what? It's the ring. The standoffs on the front, the ring. All right, all right. Well, that's a problem for future me. I'm going to have to open this thing up again and get that standoff ring, and if I don't, like, just end myself out of frustration, I need to get that ring and put it on the standoff properly, and then replace the mainboard on top of it. Oh my goodness. You gotta be kidding me. Geekom, please. But anyways, it's a really nice looking mini PC. It's not the easiest thing to go into. There's 1,000 screws, but it's very tightly machined, and I don't think they intended for people to really go inside and look inside there, which is a bit of a shame, because you do have that open secondary internal storage slot, which is handy to use. Oh, goodness. All right, but hey, I hope you enjoyed the video here. I hope you found it useful. These pads things go back over there, but I'm not resticking them until I open this thing apart, tear it all apart, and grab those standoff little tiny metal rings, because I don't want that messing around with anything in there until I power it on. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you liked the mini PC. Very compact power supply. I'm hoping it stands up and pairs very well to the A7 from their previous generations of mini PCs. They're very compact, very like hand size. This is the size of my hand. And this is a little bit bigger, but still fits in the palm of your hand. Very clean looking. Lots of good I/O. It's a great looking machine. I have high hopes for it, and I'm going to be testing that out in the future. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video and this wacky little hour adventure of me tearing apart a mini PC and trying to put it back together and utterly failing on the last leg. Ah! Alright, you guys have a good day.